Good morning. Let's start today in child's pose. If child's pose isn't comfortable, I'll give you another option. Just a traditional, so big toes together, knees apart if you are taking child's pose and it feels okay in your body. You could always put something behind the knees, like a blanket to give yourself more space. You could even put 2 blankets, a pillow, whatever you have, and it gives more space for the knees. Or you can lie down flat on your stomach and make a pillow with the hands and rest the forehead on top of the hands. So you get the same emotional sensation, whichever option you choose. And I like giving those options for child's pose because it can be a difficult pose in some bodies. And we could be dealing with an injury or something that just isn't making it work. I hurt my ankle a few months ago, and child's pose was uncomfortable to have my feet in this position. So it might not even be the knees sometimes. With the eyes closed, start to lengthen the breath. So just make each inhale a little longer, each exhale longer. Coming into your breath control and easing your way into your Ujjayi breath. So your breath rhythm that you're going to have for the rest of your practice. And you can hold still with the body, or you can move the head side to side, which is soothing if you want a little bit of movement. But offering you all these options so you can make choices throughout your practice. Ones that make sense for you in the moment. If you're moving the forehead side to side, come back to center, find stillness. Maybe start to crawl the fingertips forward if the hands are stretched out in front of you in a child's pose. And begin to look forward. We'll make our way onto hands and knees from whatever position you're in. Once you get to hands and knees, let's take a few rounds of cat-cow. You can keep the fingertips forward. If you want to open up the wrists and the forearms, you can turn the hands out to the sides or all the way around. And on the inhale, bring the heart forward. And on the exhale, round the spine. So you'll keep going on your own. As you inhale forward, you feel the belly engage a little bit and maybe the inner thighs. And then as you round the spine, you should feel the inner thighs, the tops of the feet, tops of the shins pressing down into the mat along with the rounding of the spine. And keep going in that direction. So inhale forward. Exhale round using the whole body. Going at your own pace. Eyes open or closed. Eyes closed is kind of nice here because you can feel what's actually engaged. How the body's feeling. Some of us can get really distracted with the eyes open, so know that you have that option. Make this the last round wherever you are. Come back to neutral, turn the hands around if they were faced a different direction. Walk the hands forward. Start to glide forward. So you're still on the knees, lower all the way down onto your stomach. Left forearm in front of the face, bend the right leg, reach back, grab for the right foot. Careful not to let the right knee go out to the side. Point it straight toward the back of the mat. So if you were standing, the knees would be next to one another. And you can lift the chest and get a little bit of a back bend, or you can let the head come down to the forearm. See which one's feeling better today. Release the right foot, switch sides. Right forearm comes in front of the face, reach back, grab the left foot, bring it in. Either do what you did on the first side with the upper body. Release the left foot. Bring the hands back by the lower ribs. Bring the forehead down to the ground. or the mat. Hug those outer elbows in. Move the shoulders away from the ears. So you should feel a nice opening here with the head down, the hands down. Press into the tops of the feet. Hug the belly in. Point that tailbone back so that the whole spine stays nice and long, and then keep that. Just start to lift the head, reaching it forward, coming into a cobra, Bhujangasana. So you're keeping that whole setup, but lengthening up through the sternum, the navel. Look forward a little bit and exhale, release. Bring the forehead back down. Press into the tops of the feet, hug those outer elbows in. You lift the navel away from the mat a little bit so you can point the tailbone back. Keep that length, keep the shoulders away from the ears. Start to lift the head, come back into cobra. Doesn't need to be real deep. Get a little lighter in the hands. And exhale, release. Last one. Inhale up, cobra. Exhale, release. Come back to hands and knees. Tuck the toes. Leave the legs the way that they are. Come into a funky child's pose. So the hips come back toward the heels. Toes are tucked. Heads down onto the mat. Keep walking the fingertips forward. Then downward facing dog. Lift the hips. Any movement you need in this first downward facing dog. And then listen to see if anything's talking to you. The legs feel tight, put a little bend in the knees or widen the feet. And then inhale, glide forward to plank pose. Go slow. Start to stack the shoulders over the wrists. Look forward. Stretch those legs back behind you. Keep the chest nice and wide. And exhale back, downward facing dog. Slow transition back to downward facing dog. Then slow breath. Inhale forward, plank pose. This time, maybe lower down halfway, chaturanga. Just an option. You can stay in plank. Come back up to plank pose, downward facing dog. Inhale, glide forward to plank. Lower down halfway, chaturanga. Knees can be up or down. Back up to plank. If you want one more, take it. Chaturanga or hold plank. Back up to plank, downward facing dog. If you haven't already, widen the feet, wider than hip width, maybe closer to the edges of the mat, depending on how tall you are. Start to walk the hands back toward the feet. So you're in a wide forward fold in the back of the mat. Clasp opposite elbows, let the head and the neck go. Maybe you sway side to side if you want to. Start to switch the clasp of the elbows. Bring the hands down in front of you. Come up halfway. Bring the heels in, toes out. We're coming into Malasana, yogi squat. You can use the mat to roll it up to bridge that gap between the heels and the floor if there is one. Otherwise, hands like prayer, elbows in front of the knees. Lift the chest. So go for a long spine. Sit up as tall as you can. And if that height's not happening, you're finding any rounding, you can bring the hands down in front of you and the heels can be lifted and you'll find your long spine that way. Still getting your hip opening. Maybe the eyes are closed. Breath is still going. Bring the hands down to the mat, straighten the legs, come back to that wide-legged forward fold, and then heel toe the feet back to hip width. Inhale up halfway. Start to walk the hands forward, back to downward facing dog. Glide forward to plank pose on the inhale. Lower down halfway, chaturanga. all the way down to the mat. Tops of the feet come down, cobra. Exhale, release, back to plank pose. Downward facing dog. Start to walk the feet forward up between the hands, coming into a forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the hands together at the very top and down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga, maybe up dog or stick with cobra. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, big step to the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the palms together overhead and down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, hands down, step it back to plank pose. Lower down halfway to chaturanga, then transition to your back bend. Exhaling back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, hug the belly in, look forward. Maybe lightly hop the feet forward. You can play with that if it's new. You want to look way past where you want the feet to land. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Bring the hands together overhead and back down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down, step back to plank. Lower down halfway chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhaling back, downward facing dog. Few breaths here. Bend the knees, look forward, way past where you want the feet to land. Maybe lightly jump the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the hands together and down in front of the heart. A little different this time. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway, hold here. Fingertips are probably on the mat. Look forward. Start to bend the knees a little bit. Hug the left knee in toward the chest. It's like you're kicking that left heel up toward the glute. And then we're taking a long transition to take a big step back. So stretch that left leg back behind you. Fingertips are still on the mat. Notice if that right hip's shifted way out to the right, get it underneath you. And keep that right leg bent. Start to step that left foot back into a lunge. Hands still stay down on the mat. But as you stretch the left heel back, reach the heart forward so you get really long. Left hand comes down underneath the shoulder, right arm reaches up. And if you need to widen the stance, meaning moving the right foot out to the side, do that so you have plenty of space. That right knee's pointing forward. If you feel like it's pointing out, widen the stance, move the right foot out to the right. And then turn that right hand to face behind you, wrap the right arm behind the back. Still staying in your twist. Try not to let that left hip drop. Right arm goes back up toward the sky. Set the left knee down onto the mat. Reach back with the right arm. You can stay like this. You can bring the right hand to the right hip. Some of you might feel comfortable. You might need to shift the left knee way back to lift the left foot and reach back, grabbing for the foot. Block can go underneath the left hand to give you more space to do that, any height. And gently release the foot if you have it. Bring the right arm back up to the sky. Tuck those back toes. Lift the back knee. Bring the right hand down to the mat. Straighten the front leg. So you're staying high on the ball of the back foot as you fold over the right leg. Maybe if the back of the right leg's open enough, you lift the toes on the right foot. That's more intense. And if you're looking for more intensity, you could walk the hands back. You can even turn them around and walk them way back. Bring the hands back to normal if you took that option. Set the right foot back down onto the mat. Step the left foot forward. You're back in a forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Stay here. Start to put a little bend in the knees. Hug that right knee or that right heel in toward the glutes. You're standing on the left leg. Little bend in the leg still. Keep reaching the heart forward. Stretch that right leg way back, keeping it lifted. That left knee still bent. How far back can you reach with the ball of the right foot before letting it touch the mat? Come into your runner's lunge. Reach the heart forward. Keep stretching the right leg. Right hand underneath the right shoulder. Left arm reaches up to the sky. Right shoulder's moving away from the ear. That's that bottom shoulder. Turn the top hand to face behind you. Wrap the left arm behind the back. Be mindful of the hip so that right hip doesn't drop. Left arm reaches back up to the sky. Set the right knee down onto the mat. Reach back. Maybe that right foot lifts. Maybe you grab the foot with the hand. If they don't connect and you don't have a strap, don't bother with the foot. Just let it go back and keep the hand on the hip. You'll still get that nice hip opening. Gently release the right foot, lift the left arm back up, lift that back knee up, bring the left hand down to the mat, straighten the front leg, stay high on the ball of the back foot. Let the head and the neck go. A lot of options here. You can lift the toes on the left foot, keeping the heel down. The foot can still stay down if you want to play with the arms, so don't feel like that's a necessary first step. You can walk the hands back, turning the fingertips away from you. Set the foot down, bring the hands forward, step the right foot forward to meet the left. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, set the hands down back to plank pose if you're stepping back. Lower down halfway chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. And exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the palms together and down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway, stay here. Get long in the legs. So you're lifting the hips up toward the sky. Reach the heart forward. Start to put a little bend in the knees. Hug that left heel in toward the glute. Stretch that left leg way back. Keep it lifted. Warrior one. So that left heel needs to come down. It's not lifted. Square the hips forward. We're taking our time getting into this. Then start to reach the arms forward and all the way up to Vera one. Square the hips forward, lift the chest, keep that lunge in the front leg. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Come forward for humble warrior. Back up to warrior one, release the interlacing of the fingers, reach the arms forward and all the way back up. Open it up, warrior two. Heel toe the right foot in a little bit, adjust the feet, root down through the legs, lift up through the chest. Hands press down a little bit so the shoulders don't feel like they're lifting up toward the sky. Put a deeper lunge in the front leg if you're starting to come out of it. Then either forearm to thigh, reach the left arm up and over. If you feel open enough, maybe that right hand comes down inside the foot. Feel free to use a block, but lengthen the right side waist first before you start to open the chest up toward the sky. Bring the hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway to chaturanga, inhale up for your back bend, exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, feet forward, step, walk, lightly jump. Inhale up halfway, stay here. Shift the weight over to the left foot, right heel comes in toward the glutes. Stretch that right leg way back. Stay here for a minute as you bend the left leg. Warrior one is our exit. So that right heel comes down to the mat. Feet are a little wider than heel to heel probably. Reach the arms forward and rise all the way up for your warrior one. Square everything forward. Plenty of time to tinker here. So keep that back leg strong. Find the lunge in the front leg. Lift the chest. Interlace the fingers behind the back. One finger over. Fold forward for your humble warrior. Bring it back up, warrior one. Open it up, warrior two. Nice long waist on both sides. So as you lower the hips, the chest rises, shoulders fall down the back. Parsvakonasana, either forearm to thigh as you reach the right arm over, or left hand down inside the foot, block fingertips, whatever's feeling good. And if it's not the same thing on this side, back it up a step till you feel comfortable. Get long as you can in the left waist and then open the chest up. Hands come down to the mat, step back to plank, optional vinyasa. We'll meet back in downward facing dog. Take your time with the vinyasa, no need to rush. Use it to kind of wash off what we just did, balancing out the body. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Let's come into chair pose. Bend the knees, reach the arms up. Feel the fire in the legs, fire in the core. Lift the chest up toward the sky. Arms reach forward and up. Rise all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway, pause. Lift the left heel up toward the glute. Keep that bend in the right knee. Stretch that left leg way back. Keep it lifted. Warrior one. Take your time. Reach back with that left heel, setting it down. Reach the arms forward and all the way up. Square everything forward. Interlace the fingers behind the back, leading with the heart. Fold forward, humble. Back up, warrior one. Open it up, warrior two. Extended side angle, choosing whatever arm variation you want with that right arm. Hands come down to the mat, step back to plank pose. You decide how you're getting back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway, exhale, fold. Chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway, pause, Ardha Uttanasana. Shift the weight to the left foot, right heel comes in, up toward the hips. Start to stretch that right leg way back. Keep the bend in the front leg, keep reaching the heart forward. Set that right heel down, warrior one. Take your time. Interlace the fingers. Humble warrior on the exhale, fold forward. Rise back up, warrior one. Opening it up, warrior two. Extended side angle. Hands come down to the mat, maybe a vinyasa, maybe modify it or skip it all together. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Chair pose. Come all the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. So adding on to that, inhale, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway, Ardha, stay here. Left heel lifts, lift it all the way up. Keep that right leg bent, keep reaching forward. Stretch the left leg back behind you. Stay here. Walk the hands so they're underneath the shoulders, lifting the chest a little bit. So get as long as you can. That chest reaches forward, left heel reaches back, right hip is right over the ankle. We're coming up into warrior three. Bend the right knee. Don't think about it too much. Hands come together in front of the heart. You're already there. You can keep that bend in the right leg. Press into the hands. Keep the chest open. Keep pressing back with that left foot. Hands come down to the mat. Standing splits just for a beat. Then bend the standing leg, reach back with that left heel, warrior one, you land. Reach the arms forward and up. Woo. Interlace the fingers, humble warrior. Back up, warrior one. Open it up, warrior two. Extended side angle. Hands come down to the mat. Take your time making your way back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up toward the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway, exhale, fold, chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands together, down in front of the heart. Let's play with the other side. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway, stay here. Bend the left knee a little bit, right heel in toward the glute. Stretch that right leg way back. You're staying here. Walk the hands forward underneath the shoulders. Keep that bend in the left leg. Warrior 3, float the hands up to the heart in prayer. Keep the bend in the standing leg if you want. Reach the heart forward a little bit more as you press that right heel away from you. Careful not to open up the right hip. Put a deeper bend in the leg. Right heel lands out to the right a little bit for your warrior 1, Vera 1. So getting into these poses a little differently might feel a little disorienting. It might add a different challenge. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Fold forward, humble warrior. Back up, warrior 1. Warrior 2. Left hand down, right arm over, extended side angle. Hands come down to the mat. Step back to plank pose any way you want. Back to downward facing dog. Few breaths in your downward facing dog. And bend the knees. Look forward. Bring the feet up to the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Chair pose. All the way up to standing. Hands come together down in front of the heart. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Stay here. Left heel comes in toward the hips. Stretch that left leg way back. Keep that bend in the right knee. Float the hands up. Warrior 3. Hands in prayer. This time, hands come down to the mat, standing splits. Fold over that right leg. Start to put a bend in the right knee. Reach back with the left heel. It's similar to Warrior 1, but we're coming into pyramid pose. So land that left foot the way you would like Warrior 1. Square the hips forward. You could have a shorter stance too. That left foot goes back like 2/3 of the way. And then come up just halfway. Level off the hips so they're like right next to one another. It feels like they're right next to one another. And then fold forward. And here you can do that same arm variation that we did at the beginning. If you want to turn the hands around and walk the hands back, you can play with that here. If you took the hands back, bring them back forward. Squeeze those inner thighs. Start to come up halfway. Bring the hands so that they're on the hips. Come all the way up to standing. Right hand stays on the hip, left arm reaches way up. So as you reach up with those left fingertips, press down into the legs. Keep pulling that right hip back with the right hand. Come forward halfway. So just reach that left arm forward as you pull that right hip back. We're coming into a revolved triangle. Left hand can come down inside the foot on the ankle, outside the foot for the deepest variation. Blocks are really nice here if you have one. If you don't, just find a place where you can get long in the legs, reach the heart forward, open the chest, reach that right arm up. The right arm going up is optional. If your shoulders are tight, this is going to really mess up the pose. So you can keep the right hand on the right hip if you're feeling like you're taking away space to reach the right arm up. It's not the focus. Keep pressing down through the legs. Keep reaching forward with the chest and revolve it open. Breathe. Hands come back down to the mat. If you're using a block, set it off to the side. Step the left foot forward, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Take chair pose. Bend those legs. Sit back. Should feel pretty good. Rise all the way up to standing. Hands come together down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway, pause. Right heel lifts all the way up to the hips. Stretch that right leg way back. Warrior three. Take your time. Bring the hands up in front of the heart. Keep a bend in the left leg as much as you want. Keep pressing that right heel way back. Standing splits. Hands come down underneath you, fold over the left leg, lift the right leg. But lifting the right leg from the inner thigh, that'll help you from opening up the right hip out to the right. We want to keep it neutral. Start to bend the left leg, pyramid. Set that right heel down, toes turn out a little bit to the right. Square the hips forward, coming up halfway, and fold over the left leg. Leave the hands where they fell, or maybe turn the hands around and start to walk the hands back. Hands come forward if they came back, come up halfway, root down through the legs, scissor those inner thighs. Hug the belly in as you reach the heart forward. Hands come to the hips, press down into the legs to rise up to standing. You leave the legs right where they are. Left hand to the hip this time. Reach the right arm way up. So get as long as you can as you reach up with that right arm. Those legs press down. Keep pulling that left hip back. Reach forward halfway. Looking forward helps. Just to get the alignment. You'll feel the left side of the chest start to open. Right hand comes down. Same options as before. Inside the foot, ankle, outside the foot. Use a block if you want to. As you open the chest, left hand can stay right where it is, or you can play with lifting the left arm up. What gives you more space? Think about long legs grounding down. Long spine, reaching forward and then opening up into this twist. Breathe through it. Left hand comes back down to the mat. Both hands on the mat. Step the right foot forward, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, chair pose. Bend those knees, reach the arms up. Rise all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. This time, hands down to the mat, Vinyasa, back to downward facing dog. Once you get to downward facing dog, let the head and the neck go a little bit. Maybe move the head side to side, inside the arms. Pedal out the feet like you would in your first downward facing dog. And then as you come to your downward facing dog, straight legs, glide forward to plank pose. Come down onto your forearms, one forearm at a time. Forearm plank. We're holding this for a minute. Try not to think about it too much. Clock's already started. Press down into the forearms and the hands. Reach the heart forward. So you're trying to take the rounding away from the upper back if that's happening. Hug the core in. Spin the inner thighs up toward the sky. Press down into the feet so the legs are really strong. And the whole body works. So you're trying to avoid sinking in the hips. Look forward. That'll make the underside of you a little longer. And then you breathe. If you started to let go of the forearms and the hands, root them down again. Five seconds left. Sphinx pose. Set the hips down. Lift the chest up. I hope you guys feel good that I have this little digital timer on my wrist, because I never believe anyone when they say 1 minute plank. I'm always like, I think it's been a minute. Are we doing 2? But I really timed it. You did it. We did it. So this should feel really nice. Tops of the feet are still pressing down into the mat. You're lifting the navel a little bit away from that and opening up across the chest. And we are coming into our back bend series. So we'll keep this energy going. Start to bring yourself down so the elbows come out to the side. Let's play with what we did before. Bend the right leg, reach back, grab for the right foot. If that right knee is going out to the side, make it straight so it's pointing straight back. Switch sides. Right forearm comes down, left heel comes in. Upper body's up to you. Release that left foot. Reach the arms back behind you. Have the palms facing in toward the body. Press down into the feet. Lift the chest up. Spread the chest nice and wide, looking forward, keeping lots of space for the neck. So sometimes when we do back bends, we want to crank the back of the head back to the upper back. Keep it long. And then if you feel pretty good here, maybe you hover the feet away from the mat. Point the big toes way back. Feet are still hip width distance apart. And if you feel like the tailbone's pointing up toward the sky, point it toward the heels. Maybe that lowers the legs a little bit. That's okay. Then set the feet down, set the hands down, make a pillow, rest the head. Bend the legs, move the feet side to side, windshield wipers. Then set the feet back down onto the mat. Same thing we did before. Look forward, reach the arms back, palms face one another. Start to lift the chest, keep pressing down into the legs, maybe the feet lift. Stay here or bend the legs, reach back, grab for the ankles or tops of the feet. Toes can be pointed or you can flex the feet. It's just a different activation of the muscles in the legs. So see which one's feeling better today and then lift up. But go for length. We don't want to feel any crunching anywhere in the spine. Try not to let the knees open out wide if you're grabbing the feet or the ankles. If you have that, gently release whatever back bend you're in. Rest the head on the hands. Let the body be heavy. Ankles can roll out. Now you can bend the legs and move the feet side to side. Set the feet back down onto the mat. Let's take that again. So Shalabhasana to start. Reach the arms back behind you. Lift the chest. This is our last back bend of class. Lift the legs. You can stay right here. This is a great place to be. Or bend the legs. Reach back. Grab for the feet, ankles. Maybe you do the opposite with the feet that you did on the first time. And then lift up. Dhanurasana. Inner thighs engaged like you're squeezing a block. Gently release, let that go. Let the head come down, let the feet flap, the ankles roll out. Then bend the legs, move the feet side to side. Set the feet back down onto the mat. Back to child's pose. You still have the option to stay on your stomach and rest the forehead on the hands. Otherwise, big toes together. Bring the hips back. Arms can stay forward, but you always have the option to reach the arms back. See which one feels better. Arms forward's feeling better for me right now. This is a nice counter pose to our back bends. And start to walk the hands in toward the body. Come to seated on your mat. Extending the legs out in front of you. And we'll come to Dandasana. So the hands come down. If they touch the mat, great. Press down into them. Keep the legs nice and firm, flexing the feet. Lift and spread the chest open. And you're making this L shape with the body. Even though you're sitting, everything's nice and firm. Keep that left leg this firm. Bring the right foot in. You can hug the right knee in, but keep pressing out through the left leg as if you're doing Dandasana. Then hang on to the left knee, hang on to the right knee with the left hand. Reach the right arm up. Open up the chest. Bring those right fingertips back behind you. Sit up nice and tall. Press evenly into the hip bones. You can either hook the elbow or just keep the left arm wrapped around the bent leg. See which one feels better. Another option I really like, if you have the left arm around the knee, is to interlace the fingers like you're going to pull the elbows apart. Helps you get a nice long spine, sit up a little bit taller, and stay rooted in both hips fairly evenly. Or take the deeper variation, that's fine too. Just try not to jam yourself into the twist wherever you are. Gaze over that right shoulder. Right hand to the mat if it's not there already. Left hand to the mat so you face forward. Back to Dandasana. Stretch the right leg out in front of you. Palms of the hands come down by the hips, rooting down into the mat. Lift the chest up. Almost as if you could if you could press down into the hands so hard that you could lift the hips and the legs up and the heels. How awesome would that be? All right, bring that left foot in. Keep the right leg like Dandasana. Wrap the right arm around the bent leg. Reach that left arm way up. And then left fingertips come back behind you. Sit up nice and tall. Either hook the elbow. Keep the right arm around the bent leg. Maybe interlace the fingers like you're going to pull them apart. The elbows go really wide if you take this option. Gaze over the left shoulder. Both hips on the mat. Release that left hand back down if it's not already. Look forward, unwind. Reach the left leg out next to the right leg. Come back to Dandasana. Then we'll take Baddha Konasana. So bring the soles of the feet together. Knees come out wide. Maybe move the flesh out from underneath the sit bones. Grab the inner edges of the feet. Sit up nice and tall. Start to lean forward. Try not to round the spine, especially the upper back. Elbows can rest on the legs. And when you start to feel your hip opening, stay there. Close the eyes. Breathe into it. If one knee is way higher than the other, use a block underneath the lower knee to keep the knees level. This is a good pose where you can check out your own anatomy and see if one knee is way higher. And start to let yourself go into the hip opening. Still reaching the heart forward. Slowly rise back up to seated. Use the hands to bring the knees back together. Scoot yourself forward so that when you lie down onto your mat, your head is still on the mat. Bring the knees in toward the chest and take happy baby. So another hip opening. Grab the soles of the feet. Bring the hips back down to the mat. You can keep the legs bent. You can extend both legs or maybe just one leg at a time. If you took a variation, bend the legs, come back into your traditional happy baby. Hug the knees in toward the chest and then straighten the legs back up toward the sky. So imagine we're in Dandasana, but this time we're just on our backs. So feet are flexed. You're stretching those heels up toward the sky. The toes are coming down toward the face. Arms can just come out by the sides so that you keep the chest nice and open. You can spread the toes. And then here, if you want to add, keep the legs engaged, but if you want to add some movement with the feet, you can point and flex the feet. You could even roll out the ankles a little bit, going in one direction several times, and then the other, just reversing the blood flow in the legs. Last little bit of movement before we come into stillness. And if you took an option to move the feet, come back to the straight legs, point the heels up toward the sky, toes come down toward the face, maybe really starting to feel the blood reversing in the legs. Then bring the knees in toward the chest. Bring the nose up toward the knees. Close the eyes. Take a big inhale as you curl up into a tight little ball. See if you can sip in a little bit more air through the mouth. Hold. Exhale, Shavasana or a seated meditation. You decide what would bring you the best version of your day today. Shoulders underneath you. Make that adjustment. Let the feet go wider than hip width if you're taking Shavasana. Then maybe you move the feet side to side a little bit until you can feel the rotation of the femur bones, the thigh bones moving around. Maybe just like jelly, and then let the feet officially flop open. Keep them right where they need to be. Palms face up. Fingers start to curl because you relax the hands. You start to let go of the breath control. Eyes are softly closed. Jaw is heavy. Begin to deepen the breath wherever you are. Maybe if you're in Shavasana, moving the feet side to side like you did before. And reaching the arms overhead, find a stretch, get nice and long. And you'll make your way onto your right side. Slowly using the hands to bring yourself up to an easy cross-legged seat. Eyes stay closed if you're comfortable with that. Bring the hands together in front of you, bowing the head to honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Acknowledging this baseline you have for the day, coming back to this feeling, this state of mind, if anything makes you spike or makes you drift below your baseline, come back right to this place. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great day.